Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Deckin Around the Plug. Today, we're really excited to have James Millars on the show. James is going to be telling us about the upcoming 597s, a new direction for a Joker and the Thief, touching on cardistry decks, which is going to be super exciting. James, how you doing, man?
James,
I'm doing
what's up?
really great. How you doing, guys?
We're good, man. We're excited to have you on, man. We always enjoy having you on to talk about new projects you're working on, but just getting back in touch with you.
Yeah, I love hanging out on Decking Around, and you guys are awesome. So
I
it's always
feel
a
like
good
we just
time.
talked to you like 3 days ago.
It's because we did.
That's good. Yep,
Oh,
yep. Because
right,
I wasn't very organized. So.
Right on. Okay, that works.
But yeah, you know what? It's always fun having you on though, because I think I love the Joker and the Thief brand. Steve knows this. He always gives me a hard time about it because I definitely feel like I fanboyed our first episode with you. That being said, I'm excited always to see the direction that Joker and the Thief goes. I think this year's really been a very, shifting year for you in the sense that you come out with Wayfarers, which was a brand new deck in the line of Joker and the Thief. Now you're coming out with another deck which touches on a whole new category. I feel like a lot of Joker and the Thief really is collector oriented. This is intended as primarily a cardistry deck with, collector aspects to it. I think it's a really cool shift. What made you decide?
I think it's something more closer to the heart, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we discussed this probably once before that really you are a cardist, as Steve said, at heart. Actually, my first question, I think, unrelated even to the deck at hand, is how did you end up designing what I'll call an iconic collector's deck, being a cardist and running with it? Why has it taken you so long to create a cardistry deck?
By accident. No, it actually just started out at the time when I launched the first Joker and the Thief decks. The stuff that was working on Kickstarter were intricate, well thought out decks of playing cards. So back in 2015, not many minimal decks were working at all, and it just wasn't a thing. So I designed something that was inspired by like Theory 11, Dan and Dave, with the elements of fun cardistry brands like Fontaine. So that's what sort of got me started down that path, and I didn't really deviate away from it. And also, just looking at being at cardistry cons and just seeing what people like, and also people's responses to my decks, which were always, these are really cool, but I wouldn't use them for cardistry. And that makes perfect sense. Like maybe they would have used them for cardistry back in like 2013 when that was, intricate designs was all we had. And then furthermore, just recently, to design this deck of playing cards, it's just me getting sick of, using my own cards. I just wanted to do something fresh and something that I would use on a daily basis. It's almost entirely selfish.
That's okay.
And I think,
that's right.
I think that's part of the allure of designing your own deck. And we've seen it with magicians all the time. Magicians design a deck as secondary to sell, primarily so that they don't have to buy decks again.
Yeah.
That is a good point, because this just seems like this is a deck I haven't really put down in like a month. It's been my daily for a while, and it's just a cool design that I'm really enjoying using on a day-to-day basis. It's bold, it's simple, it's everything that I really want on an everyday carry, which is really the intention behind it. So
awesome. Since we're talking about it, let's see the damn thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Show us that back design.
Okay, so the back design is here. So this is the back design of the 597s.
Nice.
So this isn't just a solid block of color. The important thing about this deck was to have a level of attention to detail. So keeping with the Joker and a Thief theme, you'll see that the borders are actually distressed, and the logo is stamped in the middle. So that also sort of ties back to our one-way back designs. But yeah, it's a nice color, drab olive, and that beautiful pop of yellow in the center. And I went through many different variations of trying to create a deck like this, having having the logo scroll text on the top mirrored on the bottom, and that just didn't really work too well. And a bunch of color variations, and then this just seemed right. And it was a suggestion from Dan Buck, he's like, well, why don't you do something with that center logo, that round logo?
Nice.
And putting it in the middle just gave it this weight and this presence, and it just made perfect sense.
Yeah, it's more prominent, and it's definitely brings your attention to that rather than all this other stuff that a lot of people feel like they have to add to a deck, you know?
Yeah, and with a minimal deck, there's no real room to breathe. So the back design, has to be effective and while being minimal. And I think this really nails it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's the back design.
Nice.
I think it looks beautiful though, and I think the cool thing about it, I love the olive drab. I think it has such a nice, like appealing vibe to it. It's a comfortable color. It's not super bright, but also it almost has like a homey feel to it. I don't know why, but like it's a very like comfortable color there. The yellow pops so nicely on it. It really gives you that visual look to it. It's beautiful.
It definitely accentuates your flourishes, and it's easy on the eyes.
Yeah.
It's just fun enough. It's understated as well. It really has a nice balance to it. I'm quite proud of this one, especially for my first minimal deck.
No, I think it's cool. Yep. Oh yeah, it's like hanging in the bush.
Yeah, mate. I can't say that.
You got it. Past 10 minutes. You're good.
No, it's not past 10 minutes.
Oh damn! Sorry.
So that being said, though, where did the name 597s come from?
Okay. You want to take a guess?
5, 9.
So my two things that make me think about it is it reminds me of something you'd see on like Levi jeans, like
That's
their numbers,
think,
or
that's true.
Or an area code, because I feel like people always like area codes, but I don't know how Australian phone numbers work. So
it is representative of the 5th of December, 97, which was my birthday.
Oh, nice.
Oh.
Yeah, so I wanted to have a back design. So originally that name comes from a deck that I was developing that it's completely scrapped now. It was like a classic bicycle deck style sort of situation. You know how all of those decks have like a number allocated to the back design? So like the 808s or the 597. Or the, you know what I mean, the 999s or whatever. I wanted to have a back design with a number allocation.
That's awesome.
And so I carried it over to this, and I just thought this really works.
That's cool.
So that's where the name comes from.
Very cool.
My birthday.
No, that would have been my third guess. So I'm glad to see there's meaning behind it too. I feel like a lot of times with numbers, sometimes they're arbitrary, but it's cool to see that, like you said, this is your favorite deck I think you've designed so far, that you've produced so far, because it is so close to the heart. That's just one more reason that this is such a personal deck for you, which I think is cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah. I mean, also here's the Ace of Spades. Just thought I'd show you guys that one. Super classic, very clean.
I love that. That's the one you used for your stickers a lot too, and I absolutely love the look of that. Like, that style.
Yeah. I love that logo. That logo is really cool. That'd be dope on a big logo on the back of a shirt or something.
Yeah, it would be. Don't give me ideas, Steve.
Dude, I'm the idea maker, man.
That's it.
There you go.
I got great ideas. I'll spit them out all day. I just don't have the money to do them. I want everybody else to do them.
So what made you decide to pick a green for the back? I mean, again, this is kind of uncharted territory for you. Why not a red or a purple or a brown? I mean, brown, you kind of just did the Wayfarer, so I can get that. But
yeah, in terms of color, what a lot of people don't recognize about designing a deck of playing cards in general, whether it's intricate or minimal, is that the relationship of colors on a deck of cards is very, very hard to pick. So this went through many variations of color. I had the yellow with a red back. Like there was a bunch of different, there's a bunch of different variations in color that I had to go through, and I think I can't remember the exact source of inspiration that I lifted this olive from. It might have been from a motorcycle I had seen in Bali or something like that.
Nice.
From Deus Ex Machina. It might have been on the side of a fuel tank. But I've been really liking green for a deck of playing cards, and I think that that sort of drab green with a splash of color really, really worked. So there were probably multiple sources of inspiration, but
Nice.
it took me a while to land on this particular green.
Well, and I think it's
Now-
a green you don't see that often in playing cards.
Yeah.
That's true.
Now,
yeah.
do you have standard quartz, or what do the quartz look like?
The quartz are Arco standard. They have been recolored. So this has been described to have a bit more of a vintage look to it. This particular deck of playing cards, and that was the vibe I was sort of going for. The logo in the middle of the back design does remind me of like the number on a Le Mans racing car from like the 1960s.
Nice.
Oh,
So it's
totally.
yeah, you know how they have the number with the
Yeah,
circle
for
with the
sure.
number?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, really bold. And yeah, that was part of the inspiration for sure. So the retro look was definitely something that I was going for. So I definitely debated doing custom court cards. It was something that I specifically decided against based on the theme of the deck and based on the aesthetic of the deck. I was thinking, my line of thinking, and maybe some people think this is ridiculous, but I think it's warranted. My line of thinking was that if I'm going to do a retro vintage inspired sort of deck of playing cards and draw inspiration from that era, it makes no sense to go and completely, custom create vintage looking court cards, which is what I actually attempted on that bicycle era deck that I mentioned earlier, and it just didn't end up working. So taking that lesson, I just thought, well, vintage court cards exist. Arcos are probably, the best looking vintage style you can get. So why not just use what's already available and give them a recolor and give them that pop of yellow and that drab.
Yeah, I love the
absolutely,
Aqua
yeah.
Drab
quartz.
green.
Same.
Yeah,
I love the Aqua
I think
quartz.
it works a lot better. It works a lot better, and I think it just works. It looks cohesive.
Yeah.
And I think we can get away with that. I think it looks good, and yeah, spending the time on developing my own custom set of standard courts, it's just not something that really needed to be done for this one.
Especially
That said,
something
though,
so thematic like a vintage style quartz. It would have been something that you used maybe a couple times. It wouldn't have been something you could have carried across everything, which would have made it tough.
Right.
exactly. And if you have a look at a lot of the standard cardistry decks, like the more cardistry oriented decks, they are using standard court cards. But I want to put a twist on everything, and I think this is an appropriate twist. That said, though, I did have the issue of creating jokers, a joker and a thief card for this deck. And in order to do that, I asked my artist to emulate the Arco style and build them into the jokers. So let me bring this one further forward. So the thinner
cool.
lines,
Yeah.
it's
so
obviously
good.
not the same, but it does look cohesive.
Yeah.
We took a lot of the elements from the court cards and sort of built it into our own jokers. I'll show you the
I
other.
like how it says Joker across the neck.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So that was an issue, but I thought, well, if I'm going to make a deck look cohesive, I might as well just make the jokers look like Arco jokers.
Yeah.
They did a great job. Your designer did a phenomenal job, and I love those jokers.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
great.
they're really cool. Yeah, definitely some of my favorite that I've done.
And I always
Yeah.
love that. I mean, across all your decks, the Joker and the Thief cards are always such a fun little like addition to it, and a nice way to make the Jokers more unique, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely a motif that is not going to end.
Nice.
Yeah, it is I always thought that custom court cards would be something that I wouldn't end, but it was the right project at the right time, and I just thought, well, you know what, to hell with it. This works better.
Yeah.
So,
Now,
sorry.
is it crushed stock or?
Yeah, crushed. Yeah, premium crushed. Yeah, they feel really good. They definitely feel really good.
So definitely designed with cardistry in mind, then.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the preferred stock and finish for Cardis, and also these have proven to be quite durable as well, which is surprising. So, it's always a luck of the draw when it comes to USPC. in terms of the quality and the durability, but these ones seem to be particularly good.
And even your registration looks pretty good there.
Not bad. Yeah. That's this is probably
a little bit of variation, but really not that bad compared to what we've seen recently. Yeah, it's not bad.
It depends on absolutely. I think the registration's not bad when you consider the distress borders. That becomes even less prominent. So and I think I also want to show, while we're talking about the cards themselves, I wanted to do some very unique ad cards. So the ad cards that we have, these ones here, they're solid block, full bleed. And the intention for these is maybe to remove the joke. If you prefer a thinner deck, remove the jokers and keep these in, or at least one of them. This is my favorite one to keep in, because when you're mid-cut, you'll occasionally, by random, see a flash of yellow come through. So it's like it's this pop of color. It just really, I don't know, highlights the the flourish that you're doing. I think it's a really cool little addition. It's different, stylistic. So it's something we threw in. That's cool. If you use them, you use them. If you don't, you don't. But I think they're pretty cool. So,
no, it's definitely a nice touch to it. I think the both of them are really. Again, like I said, I really like the amount of thought you put into this being a cardistry deck. And I think the one thing that a lot of people forget, and we always see this, Steve and I mention this all the time when we're looking at Kickstarter, everyone comes out the gate saying, oh, this deck is perfect for cardists and magicians and collectors. And to be very honest, very few decks manage to hit all 3 points successfully and equally across the board.
I'm definitely guilty of that myself.
Yeah, I mean, and it's just kind of how it goes. And I think, it's a great marketing tactic, but at the same time, I think people who get comfortable with, Kickstarter and decks realize all right, there's use cases across the board, but really this is a collector's deck, or this is a cardistry deck, or a magician or a magic deck, or a poker deck. But I think, the nice thing about this is you've brought some of the collector's elements of your Joker and the Thief brand to a deck that's designed for cardistry to really kind of bring that cohesiveness across all your decks to still, to allow it to still be there. I think it's really a unique approach.
For sure. And that was a very, very important aspect of, of this whole project, because when I think about the Joker and the Thief line, every deck really needs to sort of look like it's part of the same family. And while there's some very wild sort of different decks like Dystopia and Maidens and the original Joker and the Thief decks, they're all wildly different. Those 3 decks, but they all still feel like they're a continuation of the same brand. And it was very important for me to do this. This is obviously going to stick out, but it feels like a Joker and a Thief deck. And taking what I know about, designing all of these other decks, I've taken that knowledge and put it into something a little more minimal. So that means that it still has those premium processes. For example, with this one here, with this tuck box, it's all letterpress. Nice. So there are raised elements. So you will feel the letterpress elements. The sides have got texture. It's got a beautiful color to it. On the interior, decided to really spice up the interior and continue on the Joker and a Thief interiors, but in a more minimal fashion.
Looks good
with that bright yellow. And then furthermore, as well as the seal, I thought, well, what a perfect way to take the intricacies of the older decks and put some element of the intricacy on a minimal deck to break up the colors and to break up the solidity of it. And we've got a custom perforated seal with custom artwork, and that's very, very intricately designed.
It looks
so cool.
So all of these little things, and also the distressed borders on the back design as well, and that keeps within the theme. So all of these things together, the back design, Ace of Spades, the recolored vintage court cards, everything that we've done with the box, and did I say the ad cards?
You did, yeah.
I did, yep. So they're very important. All of those things together really make a very cohesive deck of playing cards, and something that I'm very proud of. And I think, I set out to create a minimal deck of playing cards, and I think I've done it correctly.
Yeah, yeah, no,
But
I think it looks
I'll let
great.
the people judge that. Yeah.
No, I agree. I think again, being a longtime fan of the original style, the Joker and the Thief decks, to me, this is still a Joker and the Thief deck, hands down. Not just because it says Joker and the Thief on it, because of all those little elements to it. I mean, at the same time, too, and this is funny because any deck I see now with a perforated seal, I immediately think Joker and the Thief because I first ever experienced that with a Joker and the Thief deck. I still don't know how most brands don't use the pre-perforated little seals, but it's a
Yeah.
perfect element.
I find that so bizarre too because it's a Dan and Dave thing. They really were the first ones to do it, as far as I know. So, it's funny that people associate that with Joker and a Thief and not with, well, they do associate with Dan and Dave, obviously, but it's funny that people are like, oh yeah, it's Perforated Seals, JT. It's like, well,
and because it's funny because, and I think it's because a lot of it is because even though Dan and Dave do it on their Dan and Dave decks, they don't do it across all decks, and they don't do it on the majority of the Art of Play decks. So there's a lot of I want to say inconsistency because that sounds like there's just not all of their decks consistently have it. I think pretty much every Joker and the Thief deck has it.
But I think there's a difference between all the decks that come out from Art of Play, because I think the Art of Play decks have them, but the collaboration, because obviously they put out a ton of collaboration decks on their site. So when we see it on their site, we assume it's a Out of Play deck.
Yeah, but
it's not. So like for instance, Metal Lock, that has nothing to do with them deciding to do perforated seals. So I think a lot of those random decks that we consider are Out of Play aren't, and I think that's where we find that they're not perforated.
Possibly,
for sure. It's just a cool little element that I think. It's a convenience.
Absolutely,
for sure.
Yeah, I think it's great.
It keeps you from messing up the tuck. You don't have to play with a razor blade. You're not cutting anything. You don't have to figure out where to stick a seal that peeled off. It's just there. You pop it with your thumb, and you have a deck of cards ready to go.
It's very convenient. And if you're watching, Dan, thank you.
Listen, I don't think anyone has ever failed to point out the fact that Dan and Dave are extremely innovative, especially in this industry. So,
absolutely,
no doubt there. We all thank you for the perforated seals.
From now on, every time we do something, we just say thank you, Dan. Thank you, Dave.
Yeah,
and then we just go into whatever we're going to talk. So we just wanted to say before we start the show, thank you, Dan and Dave. Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, and so one of the things that is coming out with this as well, and we discussed, and you've kind of announced, is this clothing line, we'll call it, this added little kind of branding and merchandising aspect to Joker and the Thief now. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Tell us.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, I will. It's so exciting.
Don't ever do that again.
Yeah, that was a little bit. Okay, moving on. We've got some Joker and the Thief's kind of expanding. Initially, it's not going to be expanding in a big way, but starting with the 597s, Joker and the Thief will be releasing a 597 collection. So we'll be releasing collections surrounding the deck releases, which is a way of expanding the brand into a bigger pool of fish, and also broadening the influence of the brand. And it's also a new challenge. So what that is a new challenge for me, developing products, which is very, very refreshing and fun. So with the 597s, starting small with the collections, but there will be a sticker pack containing 6 individual stickers, which are very, very cool. That's like a marquee sticker pack.
Nice.
And there will also be apparel. And this is what I'm very, very excited for. It is it's a t-shirt that's made of 100% cotton, using alternative apparel as the blank. They're printed by Portland Gear in Portland, and they have some of the coolest packaging that I've designed. I'm very, very happy with the packaging as a result of me being locked in a hotel room in quarantine back in June. So I had no choice but to be creative, and it's probably one of the better things that's happened to me in a while.
Yeah,
Who knew mandatory imprisonment could make you create some cool stuff, but it has, and yeah, it's great. So that's coming out on Saturday as well. So there'll be 2 items, and then every deck release going forward will have something associated with it. So
Nice.
there's more ways to support JT, and there's more ways to sort of express yourself. So
Nice.
and for the brand to express itself. So
Sweet. We look forward to that.
yeah, absolutely. I'm really looking forward to putting it out.
I mean, I think it's an exciting challenge. And again, I think, I mentioned earlier, this really seems like for Joker and the Thief, this is a year of new ideas and new directions.
Yeah. It's the 5th year of the brand. And, the first couple years, first few years, me, getting my act together and sort of learning the ropes. And I think now it's really starting to pivot, and I'm, definitely maturing as an entrepreneur, and also, as a human being as well. And just sort of taking things in different directions and just exploring new things. And I think this has been a year of, of change in more ways than one. So, and that's exciting. And I'm looking forward to sharing what Joker and the Thief has become with everybody. So
Looking forward to seeing it, man. We're really excited
to see what you got coming out. And, obviously we saw what you have for this drop, and we're super excited about it.
Yeah.
It's totally rad.
It's gonna be awesome.
Working with Portland is pretty dope.
It's great. I mean, Sean and I have known each other for years, and it just felt like, working with him and the other guys at Portland Gear has been a lot of fun. They're lovely, lovely people. So I'm very blessed to have the brand surrounded by good people, and you guys as well, like having Deckin around, being so supportive of the brand. It's fantastic. And I'm very, very blessed to have good people around me, and also really, really good followers and supporters of the brand. So I just want to say thank you out to everybody there who's watching. If you don't decide to buy these decks, I love you very much. Thank you for all the support. And I got the best sort of people following me.
Awesome. Thank you.
I mean, you build a beautiful brand, so it's good, man.
Yeah.
We're excited. We're excited for the 597s. We're excited for everything new, and I can't wait to see the shirt, because I'm all about buying branded shirts. So
yeah, had to pull my heart out a little bit there. So.
That's good, man. That's where it all happens. That's where the beauty happens, right? It's giving yourself out to people, and that's what makes people follow the brand more,
Definitely trying to make Joker and the Thief something meaningful, and something, an exciting brand, something that's different to everything else that you've seen, and a brand that, ultimately cares. I'll do my very best. So, that's JT.
That's cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing the awesomeness with us.
Absolutely. Before we sign off here, the most important part, the 597s and the merch will be dropping November 14th. That's this Saturday, tomorrow. It will be at 8 a.m. Pacific time or 11 a.m. Eastern time. So make sure to keep an eye out on jokerandthethief.com, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and keep an eye on our socials at Joker and the Thief on Instagram. We always post some cool stuff. If you're not following, get your act together.
There you go. Yes. We will link to the site as well as all of James's socials below. Guys, keep an eye out. This is going to be a fire deck. I'm excited to see everything that's coming through with Joker and the Thief for the rest of this year and into next year, man.
Yes.
Thank you. And thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Our pleasure. Man. Thanks, everybody, for checking out this episode of The Plug. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And again, tomorrow, Saturday, November 14th, 8 a.m. Pacific time, 11 a.m. Eastern time, Joker and the Thief is dropping their 597s. Make sure to check them out.
Make it happen. Come on.